welcome to Calabasas Teen Forum. My name's Jason Pierce and I'm your host. Now, Teen Forum is an opportunity for local high school students to express their opinions and views on certain topics of the day. And today's topic is international aid and disaster control. We have an outstanding panel which includes Alex Benedon, a senior at Calabasas High School, otherwise known as Captain Falcon or Big Al. He's planning on attending, his words, the #1 public institution in America, Berkeley, and he looks forward to studying art history. Rebecca Peters, a junior at Calabasas High School. She's on the Environmental Commission for the city. She saved a baby bird just last night, still nursing it back to good health today, and she's also the student ambassador to Australia. Shanna Rosenberg, otherwise known as Shanna Banana. She's a junior at Calabasas High School, and this summer she is going to be a Goodwill ambassador traveling to Eastern Europe, Poland, and Israel. Sophia Arman, junior at Calabasas High School. She's the president of Teens for Humanities. And recently, over the past year, she has raised a ton of money for Doctors Without Borders. And the one and only Scott Solomon, a senior at Calabasas High School. He plans on attending UCLA to study political science in the fall, a.k.a. Clutch, and I have to add, he's the world's loudest clapper. Tim Suwandapudra, junior at Calabasas High School, otherwise known as Wonton. He's on the swim team, and he's the lieutenant governor of Key Club International, as well as the co-president of Calabasas Teenage Republicans. Again, our topic is international aid and disaster control. Now, Scott, does a country have a moral imperative to give aid to others in a time of crisis?
Well, Jason, I believe that it is a nice gesture for governments to give money and aid, but I believe that it should be individual contributions most of all. For instance, in recent disasters, a lot of the aid that our country has been sending has been generated by individuals in collection centers and whatnot, and I believe that individual donations is the best way to help out other countries.
So charities and private
yeah,
groups.
I don't believe that the government should have the only burden of doing it.
Alex, what do you think about that?
Well, I personally don't know if an individual country has the exact responsibility. I agree with Scott that perhaps individual donations are good, but I think that's kind of what the UN has been established for, and I think that the UN isn't being afforded enough power really, and I think that's something that UN should be dealing with at most, and I think that individual countries can, if they need to, if they're able to kind of give financial contributions, because not every country is like the United States and is able to give away money, and we're not even able to give a lot of money, and people don't know that the U.S. is in debt and that we don't have all the money to spend around, and so yeah, morally you want to do it, but I just don't think it's financially plausible for countries to do it.
Rebecca, do you agree with Alex? And if the UN should be doing that, how do they enforce their aims and goals?
Oh, I have mixed feelings about what Alex said, because I do agree that financially it's not always possible to give all the aid you want, but if we hadn't become entangled in some of the financial problems we've gotten ourselves into, we'd be able to help other countries more. In terms of what happened with Hurricane Katrina, that happened on our own grounds, and we really didn't do enough to help. And what Scott said with private donations are great, but the problem is it doesn't generate enough to significantly help a problem such as Katrina or genocide in Darfur. It's not enough.
Sophia, what do you think?
Well, I actually have to agree with all of them a bit, but I have to say, living in the United States, we have opportunities presented to us that other countries don't have, and we need to set an example based on even our federal government. I mean, this is very important. With Darfur right now, action is needed, and private donations is not enough. We need peacekeeping troops. It's to a greater level, especially on the severity of the event. It's just private donations help to a point to provide aid, but honestly, to secure some kind of situation in some type of conflict, those like Red Cross groups, they really aren't there to keep the peace. They're there to help and help the wounded. It's a hard situation. I don't.
Tim, what do you think? We talked about Darfur. How do we enforce, if we want to, how do we enforce that without destabilizing the region, seeing that China is involved in Darfur as well?
Well, in terms of government intervention as opposed to individual contribution, I'd actually have to agree with the majority of the group by saying that I believe government intervention is actually more necessary. For example, with the tsunamis in Asia a couple of years ago, we've had hundreds, actually thousands, and possibly a million people died and suffered, and the American government, which is the military in the area of the world, did help out in terms of giving aid, providing clean water, supplies, stuff like that, and it also helped our image as America. For example, in Indonesia, there are certain parts where it's a very large Muslim majority, and most of those people aren't too well educated on what America exactly is, and they're fueled, I guess, propaganda on how evil America is. And by us giving them aid, we helped our image, therefore possibly preventing other people from joining terrorist sects or whatnot, stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a big thing that us as the U.S. government should be. It's a great thing for us as the U.S. government to intervene and provide aid to those troubled countries. And not only, well, individual contributions do help, but I think it's not as effective as if we were to be helping as a government instead of individual organizations which are spread out.
So it's a two-way street. Helping others helps us. Sophia, what were you going to say about that?
I just have a little comment with that. I don't think really this support, and when I said international support, I didn't mean for the American image so much as really to gain international support and actually helping the cause. I don't think really that we need to be worrying about so much about how this is going to affect our world, image within other countries. I mean, I'm sure, yes, that will definitely help, but what we need is to set an example as, a great superpower to have other countries help on board, especially in conflicts like Darfur where we need serious effort. It's not.
Well, I actually agree, but I was just providing a reason why we should go and help, and that's not really like a major reason, but it does help us in terms of persuading people like Scott that government intervention is more important as opposed to individual countries.
Rebecca, what do you want to add to that?
Oh, I just wanted to. We're talking about Indonesia, and then you jumped to terrorist groups, and I didn't really see that connection.
Indonesia is 99% Muslim, the largest Muslim country in the world. I am personally Indonesian, and there are terrorist bombings there. There are people that are being fed, terrorist propaganda, and when I go there, I speak English. They give me dirty looks.
Shanna, what are your viewpoints on that?
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed in between the two of them. I didn't really understand I'd like you to continue on your connection with
my connection.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean in terms?
I didn't understand what you were saying. How is that connected to?